see at the moment. Okay, well, so maybe just sort of in sum, give us a sense of perhaps any lessons that you've learned that might be relevant, one to other, as it were, patient organizations thinking about or working now in sort of different areas of disease development. And secondly, if there's any lessons for the model for the for-profit drug development sector.
I think one of the things that I believe has made a big difference for our ability to make a difference in our field is the fact that we have an internal point of view on the science. So the fact that we make those decisions in-house, it doesn't mean that we don't tap external expertise. In fact, we do that ad nauseum. But ultimately, the portfolio decision in terms of what grants we fund and where we proactively try to do work is a decision made internally, so that the scientists on our staffs are the only ones really around the world that are coming into work every day trying to figure out how to cure Parkinson's disease. And so that makes a big difference to have that internal scientific point of view and that internal scientific expertise. So that's one thing we feel passionate about. Secondly, you can't underestimate how important it is to be willing to fund research tools. We've worked on over 100 targets, so it's, and a lot of our research dollars are going to advancing specific therapeutic targets, but we see that many of the tools that are needed for companies to take things into the clinic or just to continue advancing a program are things that everybody needs, but no one has an incentive to create or at least to distribute evenly and quickly. And so we make significant investments in tools, whether they be animal models. For instance, now we really don't fund any animal model development within academic labs. We basically use CROs, develop the models ourselves, and make them available at Jackson Labs, and they're free to anybody who is a grantee of the Fox Foundation. So, this becomes something that can really accelerate progress. And so, and venture capitalists have said to us, if you did nothing but develop tools and distribute them, that would have a significant impact on the field, and we see that and believe that. So.
That's great. And roughly $50 million a year looking forwards? You
say that like it's just handed to us. But in 2009, 2010, we're about 45, 50 million. We're hopeful for the same next year. We really, we start each year raising money from scratch. We have no endowment. We maintain no excess reserves. So when I say return on investment is a little different for us, our kind of stakeholders are really the Parkinson patient community and particularly the most significant Parkinson's philanthropists. So we are in front of those folks every year talking about progress, really focusing on the ways in which their dollars in our hands can make the greatest difference. And so if we're successful on that front, then we will continue to grow what we do. But I think there's at least some evidence that this type of model can make a big difference in terms of accelerating progress in a space like Parkinson's, and it certainly is making a difference in terms of the value that a philanthropist gets with their dollars by being able to move through an organization like ours where we can essentially be an informed asset allocator.
Okay, but so you're open for business, both for donations and also potentially for projects.
Right, but hopefully, I think this seems to be a reasonable scale for us, and I think, but we see today that, for instance, we've based on the generosity of one donor, Sergey Brin from Google, we have launched a very aggressive program just around one target, LRRK2, and seeing what we can do on one target with that kind of funding, where we can kind of launch significant efforts across the board, whether it's cohort building, tool development, therapeutic programs. If we can do all those things at once on a single target, we can see how we could double in size pretty easily and just tackle more thoroughly other additional targets. So I think our hope is to actually continue to grow.
Because he had actually a sort of idea of almost reverse crowdsourcing, didn't he, around trying to identify patients and
well, I think there's kind of the googly science concept, particularly for something like biomarkers. So that he's outspoken on his view of how one might go about finding biomarkers, and although he supports biomarker work through us too. But there's been. He's been a donor at the Fox Foundation for many years based on his fact that his mother has Parkinson's, although his status as a gene carrier has just been recently known to him and to others. So that has definitely increased his interest. But in essence, we're kind of that Parkinson's incubator fund, and he is our largest donor.
Great. Well, Debi Books, thank you very much. Do thank you.